got up pretty early this morning, got all my gear together and hopped on the shuttle. And now I'm here in the main canyon. And the maples here are honestly actually looking pretty good. Some of them are past prime, some of them are still kind of turning color, but there's plenty of stuff to shoot, and I got a lot of blue skies, which is great, which means some reflected light. Also some calm conditions. Now I will say that this morning was supposed to be the morning that a couple other friends and me were gonna go on a backpacking trip. Not far from here in Zion. You guys might know Alan Brock and also Justin Lowry. And for whatever reason, I just don't think I have that energy in me. It's gonna take a lot of work. And I kind of know my limits, and I have a little bit of a sneaking suspicion that it's just a little more ambitious than I want to take on right now. But also, I mean, take a look at these trees behind me here. I mean, this area has some really beautiful maples. Got some really nice calm conditions right now. So I think it's one of those situations where I can be a lot more productive over here, kind of take advantage of these conditions. I don't know why it is, but I'm usually more ambitious as far as the backpacking trips and stuff during the springtime. But I did find a composition. Let me show you over here. So I got my camera set up here with the normal lens, and I'm aiming it at this group of trees back behind me. And as I was saying the other day, I always like try to find subjects that have some sort of story to tell. And to me, these trees here, kind of all clustered together, have a nice shape to it, kind of almost a triangular shape to it, but almost looks like a family kind of hanging out, having fun. So I went ahead and exposed 2 sheets of Velvia 50, and my light source right now, sunlight up there, sunlight up there. So it's creating kind of a nice, soft, warm glow, which I think is gonna look really nice on some Velvia 50. But I got a lot more film with me today, so I'm gonna keep wandering around and see if I can find anything else to point my camera at. So after taking that last photo, I just kind of wandered around a little bit, and this is an area where I've been pretty successful in years past. And the trees are looking pretty good here right now. And I'm actually a little surprised by that, because I figured this whole area would just be, done. And actually when I hiked in here this morning, I kind of had it in the back of my mind that, if this grove is done and the other one that I shot the other day, if that one's kind of done, then I'm not gonna have a lot of options left for fall color. But, this place is beautiful right now. But one of the things that I wish I had done this morning is I wish I had a little bit more time to show you guys the composition I was setting up, kind of talk through the composition and all that. But quite honestly, I was really rushed because I probably had about 10-15 minutes or so. And then the wall that was in the background of those trees was gonna start having some direct sunlight hitting it. So I just had to work fast. And as you guys know, the photos are my main priority. When I have more time to work, that's when I have time to sort of talk through the compositions, kind of show what I'm doing. And that's what I have time for right now, because the glow that I'm in right now, this is gonna last a really long time. This is gonna last for several hours. So I was wandering around and I found kind of a cool composition. This is a bit on the experimental side, so this isn't gonna be, this is one of the ones where once I get it back, once I get the film back from the lab and put it on a light table, I'll probably pretty quickly make a judgment on it, whether I like it or I don't. But I set up a vertical composition, which I don't do a lot of, but I got this really cool rock here in the foreground with all these lichens and moss and stuff on it. An even bigger one in the midground. Then way off in the background, there's a tree that is kind of really nice and yellow, kind of in transition, catching a really nice glow. And then the foreground trees are sort of also in transition. So this is a tricky scene just from the standpoint that if I want to get this foreground rock right here and the midground rock and that tree all in focus, I kind of have to use a little bit of front tilt. And when I do that, I might lose a little bit of sharpness near the top of those trees, near the top of the composition. But that's one of the things when shooting this camera, there's certain things that just aren't possible, but I just have to try my best to try to get something that's reasonable. And I think by having the 2 big rocks, the tree in the background, the base of these trees all in focus, stopping down a good amount to try to get as much of the trees up top as I can, I think that's probably the best decision making. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and expose a single sheet of Velvia 50 on this scene. I don't think I need to expose several. There's no wind right now. the leaves are absolutely calm. But after I do that, I'm gonna probably wander around and see if I can find anything else to point my camera at. So there's gonna be 8 seconds at f45. Just like that. So after taking that last photo, I kind of took some time just to kind of look at the scene a little bit more. I found another composition that I really like. This time I'm using my normal lens. I pulled my camera back probably about 15-20 feet, and I'm framing it a little bit more from the side now because I really like the way that there's this branch with these red leaves off on the left. And I found that if I included the rock that was the foreground for my last photo, it was a little too much competition between that and the rock behind it. So I'm shooting just over the top of that foreground rock, and now the bigger rock is the main subject in the photo. But I positioned the camera so that none of the leaves were kind of getting in the way of that rock, where it's kind of, they're all kind of framing that rock. They're all kind of pointed towards that rock in a really nice way. And I had to use a little bit of front swing just to adjust my plane of focus so that I can get these red leaves in focus, as well as everything else in the scene. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this shot, and then keep wandering around and see if I can find anything else. So I got my gear all packed up, and I can keep wandering around a little bit, but I think pretty soon here I'm gonna head back to camp, grab myself some lunch, and also I do want to go back over to the east side. Even though the fall color is beyond peak, it gives me an excuse to kind of scout around and check out some areas I haven't been to before. And I think my plan for tomorrow is gonna be head back to this exact same area, because there's so much beautiful stuff all over the place over here. And I think I could be productive in this area for probably the next couple days at least. But this is absolutely perfect weather for shooting this kind of stuff. Calm, no wind, no clouds, plenty of reflected light. This right here is a Zion that I know and love, and was a little worried I wouldn't be able to find this year just because the fall color is being a bit early, but there are plenty of opportunities if you just kind of open yourself to your surroundings and take some time to observe everything, and you'll find some really cool stuff to shoot. So feeling really good about this morning. I'm gonna go back and grab myself some lunch. Came back over here to the crispity crunchity east side because I just wanted to sort of follow my curiosity on a couple things. There's a couple things I saw yesterday I wanted to sort of check out, and didn't really pan out as far as being a photo, but you know, it's when I kind of wander around over here that I kind of get ideas for things I want to shoot. Even without, you know, the prime fall color, there's still some really beautiful pine trees, there's some reflected light. So I figured it's probably useful to spend the rest of the day just kind of wandering around to see what all I can find over here. And I pretty much have my plan for tomorrow, so I'm definitely looking forward to potentially exposing a little bit more film. There's just so many beautiful trees, and when you get those maple leaves, you know, backlit by reflected light, they just kind of glow, which is really, really nice. Speaking of glows, got a nice glow over there. Be a hard one to shoot, but sure is pretty to look at. This is so nice over here on the east side. I mean, the main canyon is pretty crowded. There's more people there than I've seen in past years, and a friend of mine went into the Narrows and told me it was just a zoo in there, but there are so many easy ways to get off the beaten path and find some place that's a little more special.
Of the 3 photos I captured on my 3rd day in Zion, one of them is my favorite image from the entire trip. It represents everything I set out to capture, a fleeting moment of ideal conditions that has a story to tell. The first photo I shot that morning, it turned out fine from a technical standpoint, but it wasn't my favorite. I think this photo has potential for a panoramic crop to emphasize the trees, but I don't think the overall lighting is as good as it could be, or at least compared to the other two photos. This is the type of photo I'll have to sit on for a while and see how my perception changes with time. The third photo is rich in texture and bathed in a soft and dimensional reflected light. It contains many of the elements I love so much about Zion: the grass, the lichen-covered rock, and the wonderful mix of fleeting fall color on the delicate maples. The horizontal composition adds to the calm feeling of the photo, and the sloped hill in the background is mimicked by the angle of the branches of the foreground tree. This may very well have been my favorite photo from the trip, but it was the second photo, the one with the vertical composition, that I think is even stronger. The foreground rock anchors the scene, which leads your eye towards a sea of soft grass surrounding the larger rock in the midground. Between the trees and set against the sandstone rock face in the background is a lone maple tree in perfect fall color. To me, this is a sort of photo that tells a story. This wasn't a subject I found on my hurried first day of the trip. It took 3 days to find this scene, and I literally walked past it twice before I even noticed it. It wasn't until I spent a moment studying the foreground rock that I noticed the tree in the background. That's why it's so important to follow your curiosity, to take your time, and open yourself to your surroundings.
If you enjoy this ad-free content and want to help me live my dream, a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year helps keep my gas tank full and my film freezer stocked. For more information on how to support me and my work, please visit the donation section of my website at benhorne.com/donate. I also have prints and my 2017 portfolio box set available on my website. You can find a direct link down below in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support.